Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Kate Dalley Show. I want to talk to you today really seriously about what's going on in our hospitals and maybe enlighten you on how you can help and save somebody that you love. I just went through myself a pretty harrowing experience with my husband who had pneumonia, straight up old pneumonia. Can you imagine? And they turned it into COVID pneumonia. And so I want to tell you a little bit about our experience, and maybe it'll give you some insight on how to help somebody you love, or if you know somebody in the same situation, because I have a feeling we're going to have some people in the same situation. So my husband had pneumonia for about 7 days, and we were trying to get through it. Actually, he was taking ivermectin, but I wish we had upped the dose because it's actually based on weight. And so had we upped the dose a little bit more, I think we would have bypassed maybe even going in from what we hear. But we went in to get some oxygen after a good friend who's a practicing medical person came over and did his pulse ox, and it was down to 79. Now 79 is a scary number, and so it was down to 79, and so we went in for some oxygen. And when we went in, of course, we were greeted by Nurse Ratchet. I call her Nurse Ratchet because the second we went in, my husband couldn't even catch a breath, and she was there putting a mask on him. So medical common sense would tell you that you wouldn't do that to somebody that can't breathe. But I said, no, don't do that to him. And she immediately called security. And the security was standing by so that I wouldn't say anything anymore while she did her hardcore work, I guess, getting him in through the door, but and into the hospital. But she was... You couldn't even talk to this person. I can't imagine a person with any medical sense putting a mask on somebody that can't breathe. But there again, we have these people working in our hospital system. We were immediately sent to the ER where a workup of our symptoms, which were just basic pneumonia symptoms. But of course, we're all, sitting there. They want to do the COVID test. The COVID test is ratcheted up to 40 magnifications or rotations. Above 25 is considered deceitful, but this test is up to 40 to encompass all flu and virus and cold and everything under that umbrella. So, of course, it's going to come back positive. Well, it came back positive. We were expecting it too, because anything's going to show up. It should say test of illness, but they've turned it into test of COVID to give these false positives, right? So the second it came back positive, it was like sirens went off and bells rang, and it was COVID, and of course the zoot suits came on with the hose out of the head, and the everybody in a gown head to toe with the gloves and the double masks and treating us like we had bubonic plague. But seconds before, we were all just sitting and chatting, and we were fine, talking about symptoms. But anyway, immediately took x-rays. The x-rays came back where there were white cloudy stuff on both sides of the lungs. And I was immediately told it was COVID pneumonia. So of course I'm asking, well, what is COVID pneumonia? Well, COVID pneumonia, they really can't say what that is, except that because it's so elusive and such a mystery after 19 months. But apparently it's just... well, it's pneumonia, but they call it COVID pneumonia because basically you're going on two tracks. One track is pneumonia where you get oxygen. They make sure you're stable. They send you home and it's chicken soup and TLC. The other track is if the test comes back COVID, you're on a whole different road at the hospital. This is ICU. This is high flow. You could have high flow machine either way to help you get stable again, but they made a policy change. So it used to be where they put you on high flow if you were low enough. They put you on the high flow oxygen and you're in a regular hospital room. Well, nowadays, you're sent to ICU. So you're sent to ICU on where they tell you it's going to be 7 to 10 days. How do they know that? Crystal ball, I guess. So not 5 days, not 6 days, but 7 to 10. So you're there 7 to 10 days and you're in ICU. And so they could be doing this on another floor in the hospital, but now they can say the ICUs are full, right? Because you got a lot of people that weren't there before. So now the ICU is overflowing. That's what you're going to keep hearing because of these policy changes. And they have a whole track of medicines and everything else. Well, when we were in the ER, we were told with a straight face that, hey, next step is ventilator. And I said, no, we don't do that. What do you mean you don't? What do you mean you don't want a ventilator? Yeah, we're a no ventilator family. Yeah, that's. Well, they looked at me like I was from Mars. They also asked me if we were vaccinated. And I said, oh, hell no. No. And of course, that little snippy comment got me the smirk from hell. But anyway, because we're the evil people that entered the hospital unvaccinated. Well, we're about to blow a hole right through that story, aren't we? Because my husband actually walked out after 3.5 days. ICU. Fastest ever. But anyway, my husband was told that I was not going to be that decision for the ventilator, that it was his life, not mine, even though it's our life, but whatever. And he was told that he would definitely get brain damage, really risking that brain damage if he did not accept that ventilator position, if they couldn't get the high flow machine to do what it needed to do. And my husband's like, okay, well, all right, I'm still not getting a ventilator. I figured we have to write on Sharpie, no ventilator, just to protect him from all the different doctors. Nowadays, you don't just get one doctor, you get 24 doctors on rotation. So it's really hard because I don't know how much they communicate, but they figure that this whole team effort is helping you. But I actually think one doctor, it would be nicer to talk to, the whole way through a situation. So we go up to ICU and I enter with the gown on that they gave me in, because I had to gown up the minute they had the COVID test, not before, but that minute. I walk up to ICU and I'm told by the nurse that enters, oh, that's infested with COVID. You have to take that off and put on a new one. But what about my shoes, purse, bag, and hair and face and arms? Is that not infested with COVID? No, just the gown. Apparently it likes yellow and is attracted to yellow. I know I'm being awfully snippy, but so that makes no medical common sense because I'm wearing the shoes all over the hospital. I'm wearing my hands, whatever. So it's the gown. So I have to keep switching the gown, and they had all these ridiculous protocols. I have to wear my immune system on my face because apparently I'm healthy, but my immune system on the inside doesn't work in the ICU. And this is told to me by medical professionals that all of a sudden my immune system kaput on me suddenly, and I have to get a suit on with a hose and the hazmat to visit my husband, who I just spent 7 days with and didn't get sick. I just spent 7 days with the man, in bed with the man who was sick and didn't get sick. But now apparently I got to wear the spacesuit from hell and the hazmat suit to visit my husband every time I want to say hi to him. And he can hardly hear me through the shields. Okay, so this was our situation. We get in and I have amazing doctors. And the only reason that we succeeded at this, I think, besides prayers and blessings, were the fact that I had amazing doctors to talk to who urged me right away to get him on intravenous high-dose vitamin C. This makes a big difference. It's not like, a lot of doctors will shame you and think you're silly and, oh, you're a vitamin girl, that kind of thing. But you want just like a little dissolvable, no, I want high-dose intravenous vitamin C because it's even known to kill cancer cells at high doses and help with nucleic acid and help with inflammation, which is pneumonia. And so, by the way, the X-rays, when they did the X-rays, the X-rays were suspiciously like the 2017 pneumonia, 2006 pneumonia, 2000 pneumonia. So all pneumonia looks kind of like each other, suspiciously. I think 3 years ago, it just would have been good old pneumonia, but today it's COVID pneumonia. I think there might be some big bucks associated with the COVID pneumonia, you think? So anyway, we're in ICU, and I said, I want vitamin C, high intravenous. The doctors that I'm in contact with, the frontline doctors, are telling me get zinc, intravenous zinc, NAC, high doses of vitamin D, get everything to help him to combat the pneumonia. Well, they said it wasn't protocol. I said, well, it doesn't matter. I want it. And they said, well, it's not protocol. We don't do that. You don't give vitamins and nutrition to your ICU patients? Why? And the answer was, we don't do that. Not protocol. See, there's 341 pages sent by the CDC panel to tell the hospitals what to do for their protocol. And here's the bottom line for you. if you like me to get to the end of this before I explain the rest, it's not COVID that's killing people. It's the protocol. It's overtreatment. I wanted to undertreat my husband with nutrients and vitamins to help fight what he had so he could breathe again, instead of overtreating him, over-medicating him, and shoving him on a ventilator too early, because the death rate of a ventilator is up to 75-80%. Death rate. That's really scary that they were talking ventilator from the minute I got in there. So finally, they told me they were going to do intravenous and then stuck him on 500, right? A dose of 500 is like what you'd give a child. It's like taking one of those little orange dissolvables. So I said no, and we had to stay on it. We had to stay on it. My daughters were great help. My daughters rocked in this too, and they knew exactly what was going on and what to ask for too, and are very well versed in all this. And honestly, good doctors, and my research for 19 solid months on this really helped him. And that's why I'm passing this along to you. You are the patient, you are the family of the patient, and you can ask for these things, and not only ask, but demand. We also asked for budenicide. Now, they came back with, we don't do budenicide. Why not? Budenicide on page 205 of their protocol, this is what it says. NIH recommendation, that's what Fauci's over. I threw up in my mouth when I'm talking about Fauci. The NIH recommendation is there is insufficient evidence for the panel to recommend either for or against the use of inhaled budesonide. Budesonide came out a year ago. Dr. Richard Bartlett talked about it. He's a doctor in Texas, and he got shunned and shamed for mentioning budesonide. Now, budesonide is a steroid to go after the inflammation, whereas they want to put him on a steroid in the ICU that's antiviral. You could say the merits of both, but budesonide was known to help people and was called the silver bullet. And about 2 months ago, it was out in the Lancet, which the doctors are supposed to read, that said that they were switching people in the UK to budesonide because they were getting out of the hospital 3 days faster. So the NIH report says may reduce the need for urgent care or emergency department assessment or hospitalization and reduce time to recovery. Sounds pretty good, right? For budesonide? But, the big but, incomplete data and other limitations. And they terminated the study because there weren't enough people in the study. It works, except that it's insufficient. See, if you have too many medications that work, like ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine and budesonide, if you have too many things that work, how can you come up with, why would you have to come up with a vaccine? There'd be no need for it. So they take all of these things, and at the end of the report said vitamin C, insufficient data, zinc, insufficient data, all the way to page 290 of the report. Vitamin D, insufficient data. Now, we used NAC too, triple dose of that every day, but we put them on at least 10,000 units of the vitamin C and 10,000 vitamin D, and they said they were out of intravenous zinc, but they also said they don't ever use that, like they don't give that to patients. So how are they out of it? Anyway, good question. So we got all these things going for my husband, and lo and behold, within 35 hours, he was laughing and talking and eating dinner, and he was looking really good. And he still wasn't totally out of the woods because it's pneumonia. But he was laughing and talking and walking to the bathroom and sitting in a chair and watching movies and doing really great. And the doc came in and said, wow, he's better than often than anyone in here. 3.5 days later, which really could have been 3, he was released. He could have been released really after the 3 days. 3.5 days later, he's totally released out of IHC and took him home this morning, and that's 5 days in the hospital total. Here's what I have to tell you, because we had to consistently refuse the ventilator. We had to ask for all of these things to happen. And even when they said it's not in our protocol, we said, we don't care. You're going to do these things for us. And here was another key too. Or we'll take him home using hospice, because then all the stuff follows with you, the oxygen and the staff coming. And that's the only way to really get him out of the hospital. A lot of people don't know that. So I said, we'll take him out on hospice if you're not going to listen to us, but you're going to listen to us, because I am not going to go to your protocol. Your protocol, I think, is harmful, and I don't like it. I was told by somebody that vitamins don't work. This person has a medical degree. Vitamins don't work, and it probably did nothing. And budesonide doesn't do much because they use it for they use it for COPD. But yeah, why aren't you using it for all these patients in here? Why are you standing there, wringing your hands and waiting for the patient to digress and the oxygen get worse, and you're not exactly helping the patient to progress? You're just watching them slide down, and then you're telling everybody that you're doing the best you can and this is the best care to offer them. And then you're slamming them on a ventilator, even young ages, and then you're saying, well, we did everything we could. I guess they died because we did everything we could because of that killer COVID. It's the protocol. It's the protocol. I can't say that enough. After being through this and getting to peer behind the curtain, it's the protocol. The protocol coming down from the CDC. I have to say there is a lot of money to be had to put people on ventilators because you get the extra COVID bucks for doing all these treatments. And ICU runs what, $20,000 to $32,000 a day? There was no need to be in there. He could have just been on the high flow oxygen in another part of the hospital. There's no reason to overtreat and do all this crazy circus show. There's no reason for any of that. And if I could tell you, what I would do, I would actually go to the Frontline Doctor's website and I'd call them and I'd do a televisit and I would get drugs sent to me within 24 hours. I would go to IV clinics and I would get large doses of intravenous vitamins to help you. I would probably try out the ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. I would do that first. If it's bacterial, you probably need an antibiotic. But if it's viral, you don't need the antibiotic, right? I don't have a medical degree. I am not medically trained to give you any advice, but I'm trying to tell you from my perception what happened in the situation with my husband. And my husband walked out of the ICU faster than anybody as a healthy man. So that should tell you something about the fact that I think a lot of these things are not given in the protocols because you can't shove a shot into everybody's arm by force, which is what they like, if there's things that work for straight up good old pneumonia and flu and things like that. But by calling it COVID and naming it that label, you can sure do an awful lot. You can shut down an economy. You can change voting. You can change the world, and you can force out body autonomy and start to have to give people all these things for the greater good. Greater good is an illusion. The greater good is that you're only benefiting those that are calling the shots. When are we going to figure that out? In the vitamin C study that they said was insufficient data, they only gave 2,400 milligrams a day. You have to do over 10,000, if not 20. Do you think you have power? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Don't forget that. You tell the doctors what you want. You tell them you're going to take that patient out and you say no ventilator. If I'm the only person was told I'm the only person to refuse a ventilator and ask for all of these things and change their protocol, that scares me. Why aren't more people doing this? I want you to know that this isn't bashing hospital nurses or doctors. I think they're trying to do what they think is right for the patient or the best. They think this is the pinnacle of care. Although what I found out was most doctors don't read studies. They don't know what they're doing when it comes to this. They always say it's elusive and a mystery. It's not after 19 months, I'm sorry. And you have a duty and a responsibility to stand up to this protocol and say it's not working. You have a duty and a responsibility to say, hey, why are we throwing people on ventilators? It doesn't seem like much of a mystery. Why are we doing this? And that's where the responsibility of the nurses and doctors comes in. It's willful ignorance, and you can't stand behind that and then say that and wring your hands and blame COVID and say that you're doing all that you can do. This is a warning. This is a warning to say they're telling you to not add in the things that can help so they can give you a vaccine that you're forced to take. That's not okay. And if we have doctors and nurses standing up to this and saying no, then maybe we have a fight. Maybe we have a fight in this battle. Maybe we can change the course of events. Maybe if you share this enough with people that you know to ask for the things that can actually help a patient, then maybe we'll make some headway here. Please do the things that work. If my leg blows off, then I'll probably have to go to the hospital, right, to get that fixed. But in respiratory, when they create a circus around this and a whole show of, we have to do this, and this, do they really have to do this, and this? Please, I'm begging you to share this. Please get this word out that you need to change their protocol, because I think the protocol is killing people. And I think good nurses and doctors, even if they don't realize it, they have to stand up and ask more questions. Doctors don't read studies. They don't read studies. They're not up on the latest because they think they're being given the latest by the hospital administration. And that's a problem. Please share this. Say no to the ventilators. And no wonder we got told, do we have enough ventilators in the country? Because they really wanted to get people on ventilators too fast. And I can't give any medical advice. This is just my situation that happened to me. I take that for what it is. But I certainly know good people to ask, and I did rely on good doctors that get it, that know what's going on for advice, and I took their advice. So no, I don't think all doctors are bad or nurses are bad. I just think that you have the Stasi nurse brigade that's kind of like the soft drink dispensing airline stewardess that got a little power. And the only power is enforcing the drapage of the yellowish fabric and the mask. And they walk around acting like they're the Gestapo for these 2 items. And these 2 items are saving humanity. And as silly as that sounds, it's not, but they think it is. And I can get past that because I'm aiding and abetting the neurotic. But when it comes down to the actual care of these patients, we have to change the protocols and call them on it and expose them and shine some light on it. And I hope you all do that. This is the Kate Dalley Show, katedalleyradio.com. I have 2 hours of podcast on this that explain it in more detail. And I sure hope you check those out. Thanks, you guys, and good luck with this. Thank you.